Welcome to Design, Build, Launch, a free course where we're going to design, build, and launch a professional portfolio website over the next 8 videos. We're primarily going to be using 2 tools to do this. We're going to be using Figma for the design. Then we'll swap over to Framer, where we're going to build the website and spend the majority of our time making this amazing website. The goal with this was to make it look as much as an award-winning website as possible, a really flashy, grab your attention portfolio. That way I could pack this series full of as many Framer features as possible to help give you guys a good, solid foundation in both Figma and mainly in Framer. I have things like micro interactions, page transitions, custom cursors, loading animations, everything you can imagine stuffed into this, and we're going to go through all of it together. Of course, this course is free, thanks to the amazing people over at Framer for sponsoring this entire course, allowing me to bring this to you for free right here on YouTube. With all that said, let's go ahead and just dive right into Design, Build, Launch. So like I said in the intro, we're going to be using Figma as our design tool of choice, and you can get this at figma.com. It is free to use. If we go over to the pricing, you can see here, free for an unlimited amount of personal drafts, aka design projects. And you can click Get Started for free to create an account. However, I'm going to log in. And so once you log in, it'll take you directly to the dashboard here. So this is a browser-based application where you can design directly here in your browser. Or if you want to, you can go up here and click on this drop-down arrow. And you can see Get Desktop App right here. And it will download that and you can install it to your computer. The next tool we'll need is Framer. So framer.com. And you can sign up for free. Once again, both are completely free to get started, which is amazing. All right, I'm going to go up here and log in. And that'll take you to the Framer dashboard. Again, another browser-based tool, but you can also install this on your machine as well. To do so, just head over to framer.com/downloads. I'll have a link in the description, and you can just download for your machine, and we can get started. Now the fun stuff, we can actually start designing. So I created a new project here in Figma. And I'm just going to hit F on the keyboard for the frame tool and drag out a frame. And we're going to build our website inside of this frame. I personally like to use a frame that has the dimensions of 1568 by 1024. You can use a different frame of a different size, but I would recommend following along with this if you want to do exactly what I'm going to be doing. And this is just a preferred screen size for me. It really helps me visualize stuff when I'm designing. So I'm just going to call this landing page. And we're going to be doing a dark themed website. So I'm going to go ahead and apply a black color to this. So I'm going to click on fill. And the color I'm going to be using is 0B, 0B, 0B. And if you want, you can click the plus here and add that to the styles for a quick reference. I'm just going to call it lighter black because I'm going to have a few different shades. And now when I just click off here in the pasteboard, you can see we have that style. Next, we're going to select the landing page and we're going to apply a bit of a layout grid to this. So I'm just going to click the plus to add a new one. First, I'm going to add columns, set this to auto. I like to give mine a blue color on a dark theme so we can see it better. We're going to have the type set to left. And for our columns, we're going to have 12 columns, 96 points in width. And we're going to have an offset on both sides of 32 with a gutter amount of 32. These columns just help us align things on the site. We won't be using these a whole lot, but they are a nice thing to have when designing a website. Finally, I like to add a 4-point grid just for a little bit more precision on aligning. So I'm going to go back up to here. I'm going to choose the default grid and change it to 4. And again, we'll change the color. Let's go with the purple. That way, if I zoom in here, we can see that just a little bit better. If at any point you want to turn this off, you can just hit Shift-G on your keyboard, and that will remove that. And if you hit Shift-R, it will apply these rulers, because I'm going to drag out next a ruler right here. And I'm going to align that right here, 32 points from the left side. You can also create a square and set it to 32 by 32. And then you can stick it up here in the corner. Line that to the left and the top. And just drag out another guide. And this can help you set up your guides nice and quickly. Boom. There we go. And the majority of our content is going to be inside those rulers, just like so. The next thing, let's generate our typographic style, so our typography. So here in the pasteboard, I'm just going to hit T on the keyboard, and I'm just going to type in heading 1. We're going to leave this at enter. So we're going to be using fonts that you don't have to install on your machine. So no custom fonts, but it's still going to look really nice. So we're going to leave it at enter for now. I'm going to bump it up to bold since it's a heading. And then for the size, set it to 96. And then I like to set my line height to 120%. So by putting that percentage there, it multiplies this by 120. There's various different ways to get type scale. We're just going to be doing this on the fly because I already have a rough idea of the sizes I need. But if you're wondering how to come up with different font sizes like this, just type in type scale, and there's tons of videos and research on type scales, and there's tools to do it as well. Next, the heading 2, we're going to set to 48. Once again, 120% line height. And then I'm actually going to create a larger heading, and I'm just going to call it heading big. And this is going to be 200 points high. So very large. We'll need to move this over. And we're going to use this in a few different places on the site. Finally, we need a paragraph text. So we're going to set this back to 16, regular weight. And then for paragraphs, I like to have a little bit more line height. So we'll go with 160. Anywhere from 140 to 160 is pretty good. Let's just make sure when you go to another line, which paragraphs you usually do, you have enough space in between lines. So if I drop this down to 100, you'll see it's kind of smushed, harder to read. Finally, for our links, I'm just going to copy and paste that and set it to medium. Pretty easy. And then we're going to have some alternate of this. So I'm going to copy this, and we're going to call this links. And we're going to have one more typeface that we're going to use. We're going to be using Roboto Condensed. I love putting that with enter. It is a really nice font. And for this, I'm going to have this in all caps. We're going to be using this for a nice aesthetic throughout. So I'm just going to call it text. And then for links, once again, all caps. Links are going to be in medium. And then the text I'm going to put to light. This is just going to be for a nice stylized type throughout. And with that, we have pretty much all of our type that we need. Next, we can just add these real quickly here in our local styles. So if you just click the first one, you click on these dots and you can hit the plus and then just give it a name. I'm just going to call it heading big, create style. And now here it is. And I'm going to do that for the remainder of these. Same process over and over. I just put the word special in front of these. So special text and special links. You could also use alt, something like that. And once we're done with that, just go ahead and delete that. And we've got pretty much everything we need to get started. We'll generate the color styles as we go. So the last thing I want to do in this video is actually put together the heroes section so we can start doing a little bit of design in the first video. So first, the heroes section. The first thing the user sees when the website loads, it needs to tell them what this website is and grab their attention. And before I start throwing this together, I do want to make a note that normally with a website, you would start by wireframing and sketching and maybe creating a mood board. But I already have everything in my head, so we're just going to kind of start designing. If you want to learn more about the first part of the design process, just let me know and I might make a video just on that in the future. All right, so what we're going to do is we're just going to grab the text tool, and in the center, I'm just going to type in a bit of gibberish, and then I'm going to center this by clicking these two icons and then make sure the text is center aligned as well. And this is going to be my heading 1. Inside of this, we're going to have 3 lines. So I'm going to make sure that I set this right here to align middle. And we're going to say intuitive, minimalistic, which I misspell all the time. So let me make sure that's right. I think that's right. UI design. Now I'm actually going to break this. We now have this set to our heading size. So I want to do a little tweaking to this. I'm going to go to these 3 little dots here, and I'm going to set this to all caps so it looks nice. And I'm actually going to bump this up to black for this particular text so it really grabs your attention, just like I'm trying to do with these words. Let's also highlight the middle of this, and let's remove the fill on it, and then add a stroke. Let's do a 2-pixel stroke on the outside, set to white. And we can also add white to our color styles as well, just so we have that a little bit easier to grab over here on the side. So now we grab the attention of the user, and I also want to show a bit of our work here in a unique way on this page. So I'm going to hit the text tool one more time. A little bit of gibberish. I like to do this just so I can see the type I'm working with. And we're going to go down to the link sized font. And then I'm going to drag it here and zoom in a bit. And this is going to be my first project, so I'm going to give it the name of my project. And I'm choosing to make it 2 lines just for a stylistic choice. And I'm going to align it to the right since we're going to have it aligned on this guide in just 1 second. So first, let's make sure it's centered. So we'll click this icon right here to align vertically center. And then I'm just going to hold shift and click and drag this over until it touches this line. Now, if you need to check any of your spacing, you can hold option or alt at any point and then just hover over other elements to see where this is at in relation to anything else in the frame. So that's where we need it. Next, I'm going to hold option or alt and click and drag another one over and align it right here on that guideline. So we're going to have 32 points on this side as well. And this time I'm going to align it to the left and change the name here. And so we're going to do something pretty cool when you hover over kind of in this area or over on this link. We're going to have the mouse cursor show an image of this, and it will actually take you to that project when you click in this kind of area. So we'll add that in just a moment. Next, let's get a bit of a navigation going here. For the navigation, I'm just going to grab this text holding option or alt, and I'm just going to type in my name in all caps. And once again, I'm going to break this link. So it's detaching the style so we can customize it. And I think I want to leave it at medium, but I want the line height to be 120 since it's not a paragraph. And then we're going to do something really cool. We'll just hit Shift A to wrap this in an auto layout. And auto layouts are super cool and easy to align things. We'll cover these as much as I can in detail in this video. And these will convert over to stacks in Framer. So this design workflow, Figma and Framer, is really solid for creating a web design project like this. So with this, I'm just going to remove the spacing in between. And I think for now, we're going to adjust the left and right padding to 16, and the top we'll just leave at 8. We're going to make sure this is aligned to the center. And then let's go ahead and give this new frame a color of white. And then we can double click to grab our text, or you can do that over here in the layers panel. And we'll go ahead and set that to our black color. So it kind of looks like a button, which is what I'm going for. So with that frame selected, I'm going to go over here and set this to something like 1000 just to make sure it's in this nice pill shape. And we're going to stick it in the top left corner. 32 from the top and 32 from the left. Next, let's just hold option and click and drag another one out. And let's stick one over here on the other side, making sure we have the right amount of space. And this time, I'm going to put in our links. So we're going to have work. Then for a nice design touch, we're going to put a comma and then space contact. This is pretty modern. A lot of designers have been doing this and it looks pretty cool. Instead of just having some margin in between them, we have a little comma to separate our links. Finally, I want to showcase 3 more things down here at the bottom. I want to have a link to go explore all of my projects. So it's going to take you to the actual project list page. So we're going to create a link for that. So I'm going to copy and paste this. I want to center align it. And I'm just going to call this Explore Designs. And I'm putting that in all caps because I'm going to go over here and swap this over to our special link or our alt link. And that's going to put it in Roboto condensed. And we're going to need an icon. So I'm going to go and grab an icon. I'm going to go up here to the plugins menu or the resources menu and tab over to the plugins. And I'm going to look for material symbols. You can search this here, but I've recently used it. So I'll just click on that. And this is going to give you all of Google's material symbols. There's a ton of icons in here. And I'm just going to search for arrow. Outline is fine and fill off. So we're going to look for one. I'm going to grab this one right here. So just click on it and it will throw it in my document. It's a little hard to see, so we'll go ahead and set that to white. And then I'm going to make a custom icon. So I'm going to copy this text and I'm just going to put in a left square bracket and then put a right square bracket in. So what I want to do is I want to have this arrow in between these brackets. So I'm just going to put it right below so I can kind of space this out and see where it needs to go. And I'm going to also scale this down to 20 by 20 just to make it a little smaller. We can just drag it in and see how that is looking. This is a little too bold, so I'm going to break this style link and convert it to regular to kind of match the icon thickness a little better. And that looks pretty good. So with that, I'm going to select both of them and I'm going to right click and I'm going to go outline stroke, which is going to convert our text to an actual vectorized graphic. So it's no longer text. And then I'm just going to select both of them and hit Command G to group them. And over here, we can just call this something like custom icon arrow. And we're going to use this throughout our project. So we're just going to drag this over here next to our text. With both of those selected, I'm going to hit Shift A again to add another auto layout. Instead of hitting the keyboard shortcut with both selected, you can just hit the plus over here as well. And then we're going to set some spacing in between of 16 and just make sure this is set to center align. And then let's just center this horizontally on the page and put it 32 points from the bottom of the frame. And I'm going to change this to the pretty much only color I'm going to be using. This is kind of just a singular colored theme with a bunch of neutral shades. So I'm just going to change this fill to D0FBCB, which is this nice, very subtle, light kind of pastel green. Of course, with that, you can easily set this to a style so we can reference it. I'm just going to call it green. And now it's over here in our color styles under local styles. Finally, the last thing I want to do is have a link in each of the corners. So I'm just going to grab this text only, and I'm just going to drag it over here and stick it in the corner. I'm going to change this back to white, and I'm going to break the style link. We're going to set it down to the light. So if people click on this, it's going to take you to my page that has all of my different social medias there. We're not going to be designing that in this. You can put whatever you want here. And then same thing on the right side. Here, I'm just going to put a contact email. So when people click it, it will email me. So I'm just going to put in here, contact@email.com. Obviously, that's not my email, but you can fill that in yourself if you want. And with that, we have basically the design finished. Let's add a little bit of detail. So what I want to do is when the user has their mouse cursor hover over in this general area, I want this to kind of light up on the side. So I'm going to turn off my rulers with Shift R, and then I'm going to grab a rectangle with R on the keyboard or click up here, and I'm just going to drag one out, and I'm going to align it to the left side and the top of the screen, and then just drag it all the way down. And then I'm going to send it to the back with left square bracket key, or you can drag it over here in the layers panel, of course. And what we're going to do is have a gradient activate. So I'm going to select the fill, swap it over to gradient. And for both of these color swatches, I'm going to grab our green. And then over here, I'm going to rotate this to be a horizontal gradient. So this swatch here, I want to be 0% opacity. And then the other swatch, I'm going to set to 10% opacity. And then I'm going to play around with the width of this. Looks good. So when someone has their mouse over here, it's going to kind of highlight over there. And of course, we would have the same thing over here if someone hovered over here. We're not actually building the site, so it doesn't really matter there. I just want this here so we know. And let's actually grab a mouse icon. And I'm going to paste one in here. And so I'm going to kind of show the hover effect here just by putting this here temporarily. You don't have to add this. And then I'm going to add a rectangle here. And this is going to be for the image that pops up. And we'll add a little bit of corner radius, 24. And we'll have this as the hover effect. And I'm going to fill this in with an image. So I'm going to click image and choose image. I have a ton of images prepared for this. So I'm going to grab one here and hit open. And a subtle detail I'm going to add is a 1 pixel stroke that is white at about 25% opacity on the outside. Just to add a little bit of detail there. Actually, let's bump that up to about 50. There we go. That looks pretty good. And so that's going to be the image trailing our mouse when someone gets to this edge. Same thing over here. But that's going to do it for today's video. That is our hero section, completely designed and everything set up. Next video, we're going to finish up this entire website design in Figma to get us ready for the Framer build. So that's going to do it for today's video. I hope you're excited for a design build launch, and I will see you next Friday in the next video. Again, special thanks to Framer for making this entire thing possible and free to you guys here on YouTube by sponsoring it. Make sure you check out Framer with the link down in the description. That's going to do it for today. As always, have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one.